just say this is a new section. So I'm going to make a blank keyframe here. And I'm just going to grab this guy. I can copy it from here. It's something I can do. Oops. I'll just grab that guy. I can go Command C. I'll just paste it here, or I can just like make a keyframe go all the way through. I'm just trying to set up a new system. Okay, so then if I want to paste this in place, I go Control Shift V, and it'll paste it exactly in the same spot where you copied it. And then I'm going to extend this guy out a little way over here. Let's just go out over here. We'll hit F5. And now I'm going to bring this back. Say I want to do some crawl. Okay. By doing crawl, or that's the credit where they have the scroll. Okay. So I'm just going to click T for type. And I'll just make a type box. That's going to go down in here. And now I can go into properties. And in properties, it'll tell you what kind of text you have. You can whatever your dynamic text. You can have input text and that kind of stuff. It's going to ask you what kind of font you want to use. It doesn't matter, but thicker fonts work better when you're doing animation titles because they're easier to read. If you use a really thin font, then you have to make sure that it's going to not get lost in the pixelization. So. And this is a font size of 63. But what we can do is at the end, say you have an end piece, and we can just say the end. Okay. Or some of you guys like to write fin or fiend. There really is an accent on there unless you're trying to do some kind of funny fish pun. You want to make sure that if that's going to happen, you put an accent on the fin, so it's fin, so it's French for finish. Okay. All right. Now you say, so if we're going to do a scroll, or if we're going to do the crawl, if you will, you can just say story by your name. Okay. And then you can say animation by your name. Or however you want to do it, no aim. Name. Okay, ooh, we're going to have to space that out a little tiny bit. And then you can say directed. That's usually the last credit that's going to be on the screen. Definitely at the beginning. It's usually the first credit at the end and the last credit at the beginning of a film. Directed by your name. Okay, and then you can have fun with it and say your name by your name's parents or whatever. And then as you go down further, then you can say, I always like to do special thanks. Okay, so special thanks to, and then this is where you're actually recognizing your class. And the reason why you put this on here is so you know what class you're in. So special thanks to Annie 31, section 3. Or you can even put the time. That was at 3 o'clock. And that kind of stuff. And so then, once you have that, then we can copy this as an element. So I'll go back and it'll have a blue line on it. And you can go Command C and copy it. And we can go back and insert a new symbol and call it crawl. And spell correctly. Okay, and then pop it in there. And it's white text so that we're not going to see it, but now all we have to do is we can just go back to our main window here and delete that guy, and we can just go into library. We're going to drop it in here. It needs to be a symbol, so that's why I made it into a symbol, because if we wanted to do a crawl, whenever you guys see crawl, some of you guys call it scroll, but I guarantee you title guys call it crawl. And we're going to make a new layer. Well, we can just use one of these layers. Just make sure you have a blank keyframe in here. So I'm going to hit F7 and then forgot to turn this guy off, so I'm just going to put a blank keyframe in over here. There we go. And now I can just come back over here and I can drop in Control-Shift-V. It's going to drop it where we needed it. And then all we have to do is have our titles go. I'm just going to put in a keyframe here, insert keyframe, and that's going to be F6. And I'm going to bring this up and stop here. And then I'll just have it create a classic tween. Okay, so I'm going to right click on it and create classic tween. Okay, so now I'm just going to have the crawl. And then what's interesting is your eye sees motion or reads motion better than static. So your eye is a graphic, it creates graphic images, and it understands the difference between motion and static. That's one of the things that's kept humans alive since before they had movies to watch and that kind of stuff. If there was a tiger that was hiding in the tall grass and it was hunting you and you turned around, you could see it moving, then you might have a chance. But if you didn't see it moving, it would sneak right up on you and eat your head. So now we have our titles and they're going to just come up. And the reason why I mentioned that is if I just play it, that's pretty quick. See how fast that's going? So that just means that we need to extend the time out. So I'm going to extend out that time. That's a little better. Still pretty fast. Yeah, that's still pretty quick. So would my grandmother be able to read that? Maybe not. Would my grandmother care? Probably not. But we'll just extend it out just so it doesn't feel too slow. Okay, now let's have a look. See what it looks like. Yeah, it's better. Now, when you watch most television shows now, they put the scroll or the crawl on really, really fast. And it's usually in a tiny little box because they don't think anybody is watching that stuff. For me, I want to see who worked on it because there's so many people I know who work in movies and on TV shows and that kind of stuff. I always want to see their names. I'm always so proud of them. So it's very frustrating for me to try and wait for the credits and then it gets pushed off and then usually up next it'll do some kind of thing and pushes off in the corner. It's really annoying. So I'm just going to pull this out like that and then we can go back and we can have a look. What I'll do is I'll just fit it in the window so we can see the whole thing and bring this back all the way to the beginning. And then you can hit return. Title by your name. I can go black and then the end. Still pretty quick. If you don't have a whole lot of text on there, then it's okay. Yeah. So in this case, once that gets here, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend that out and say insert keyframe like that, just so it stays up there. Yeah. Special thanks to Annie31, section 3 o'clock. And then let's extend this out more over here. So we can go out like that. And then what we'll want to do, this always looks cool is just to fade to black. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make another keyframe. And then I'll make another keyframe over here. And on this keyframe, I'm going to click on my element where it says color effects. I'm going to go tint to black, add another motion tween in here. I mean classic tween, sorry, not a motion tween, classic tween, and fade to black. So now we can have our title, the end, story, animation, directed by, special thanks to Annie31, section 1. We also want to make sure that they have the right year. So I for you guys, put spring 2020, the spring of COVID-19, where everybody had to stay in their house and wear a mask and do that kind of stuff. Okay, so those are some different options for doing titles. You can figure out your own. They're really easy to put together. And then all you have to do, and I recommend that you guys do the titles in a different file. And then you go over and you just copy your frames. So you just right click, copy frames. And then say you open up your final draft of your movie, and then you can go back and you can just drop it in to the beginning of the sequence. So wherever you're probably going to have a whole bunch of different layers and that kind of stuff, just make a new layer. In this case, it made one way down here. So I'm going to bring this up, and then I'll just, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that I push this over. And so just grab this guy and bring him over one. So then I have completely blank frames here. And I can select my frames, all my frames, and then go up, and where it's going to paste it, then I can just, where it's going to paste it, it's going to push everything over, okay? So then I can insert, or I'm sorry, paste frames, boop, like that, and now I've pasted my frames in, and you'll see it go like that, and it'll have moved over everything so that you can see your whole movie in there. To review, every word that you have on screen, if it's a static image, make sure that you can read that static image at least twice, okay? The, end, okay? That way your slow reading viewers will be able to pick it up. If it goes by too quickly, I guarantee you some people in the audience either aren't going to be able to read it or they're not going to be able to understand it. And that's really the most important thing. It's like we really want to make sure that your audience is able to understand what you're trying to say. And if your text is too fast, it's not going to help. Okay. Second is use symbols and that kind of thing. They'll to your advantage to be able to get type out and stuff. You can use type fonts. You can use fonts if you wish. In this case, that is completely up to you. If you want to write it, then you can do the crawling type like we did before, at the start of this video. There's lots of different ways you can do it, and then paste it in to your final movie version. Okay, don't do it right into your movie version. I mean, you can, but there's potential for making stuff get lost or left behind. So drop in your movie title, and then you're all set. Another way you can do it is if you have your movie title and you've copied frames, and you can always go over and you can go insert new symbol, and then you can just call it the title sequence. And go and paste your frames, and it'll have the whole entire sequence in there. So now that is called title sequence. You just go back out to your main, and then you can see where it says library and it says title sequence, and you can just grab that and drop it in. It's only going to be on one layer when you drop it in here, and it's going to be easier to manage. Okay, so that's lots of different ways that you can make some titles. Make sure you have titles on your piece, because you always want, if nothing else, it's like writing your name on your test. If you don't write your name on your test, then you get a 0 because the instructor doesn't know who did the test. So you are doing your final test for a pencil test class, so you want to make sure that your name is on it somewhere. Okay, that's all we need. I'll see you on the final. Hope you have a good one.